The following episode of the Comics and Crypto podcast is for informational purposes only, and anything expressed by the hosts or their guests is solely their opinion. This podcast does not constitute financial advice, and anyone wishing to invest should seek their own independent financial or professional help. Have fun and enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Sean O'Hare, and I know comics.
Hi, I'm Spencer Vogel, and I know crypto.
Hi, I'm Kevin Lee Loader, and I don't know shit. This is the Comics and Crypto podcast.
Comics and crypto, crypto and comics, collectors world in a digital age. Comics and crypto, crypto and comics, it's where the next billionaires will be rich. It's comics and crypto.
We're back!
Hey!
What's up?
Oh, man, it's been a while since all three of us have been on the same channel.
It's been a minute.
Hasn't it?
In a minute. So how have your weekends been?
Remember when we used to do
Had a lot of weekends since we've done a regular podcast episode.
Well, it's so cool. We're all going to Salt Lake City Comic Con.
Yeah.
Fan Expo.
Fan Expo.
Salt Lake City Fan Expo.
Fan Expo.
Yeah.
Fan Expo.
Fan Expo.
Yes.
I'm so excited. We're going to go down there, get some VHS tape signed by Back to the Future cast. We're going to meet MJ Fox.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to meet MJ.
Lord.
Wait, MJX?
What up,
MJF? Michael J. Fox. Yeah, okay, good.
Oh boy.
This
better stay in.
Man, there's so many
Very
people
cool.
who want to see
Yeah.
him. Like, kind of, I don't feel, we have enough time? Do we have enough time?
We're going to try
Yeah,
our
we're
best.
there for 2 days. We'll be good. We'll be good. Teamwork. I'll stand in line. You go meet some cast members. You stand in line. And then I'll go to the bathroom.
That's going to happen a lot. We don't let Sean bring his phone to the bathroom. It takes too long.
No, yeah. He goes in the bathroom
Take away
without
too
his phone.
Very excited for today's episode. We are going to focus on our top 10 Marvel and DC NFT comics. We have heard from many of you that we need to do rankings with DC and Marvel, and we finally have done it. We put together a list of our top 10, and these are only comics that have been released, by the way. So combined with both VeVe and DC NFT. Very excited for this. This is long overdue. Without further ado,
Ta-da! Oh, there
boom.
we go. Ta-da!
Number 10. Number 10, we have Wiz Comics. Number 2, the first appearance of Shazam. There are only 32 blue labels on the CGC census. Yeah. The recent highest sale and its highest grade, there's only one 9.0 grade, and it sold for $281,001 in 2012, so over a decade ago in its highest grade. We estimate this comic would sell for easily over $1 million today. It's a true one of one. There's 5,000 total editions on DC NFT. There are 207 legendaries. The floor price as of September 19th is about $400, and it's on DC NFT. This is a really, really rare comic. I mean, like you see right there, there's only 32 blue labels, guys. That's insane. Only 32 completed graded books on the CGC census.
Even less than Marvel Comics 1. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you combine that with the legendary size. I mean, even the total editions of the entire NFT collection.
5,032, that's it.
Essentially 5,100 copies, potentially, at most. That's insane. And this is a very, very, very significant comic. Holds tremendous value among collectors. The only concern that I have, the films didn't do very well. The first film was a success. The sequel wasn't good. Now, will Shazam continue to be involved in James Gunn's DC universe? It's TBD. And if we do see it, it probably won't happen for at least 5+ years minimum. But that being said,
probably recast it as well.
Definitely recast it. That being said, due to the scarcity and popularity of this comic, it should do just fine.
Yeah, shouldn't matter. Yeah, what it does to the movies.
Yeah, at least in physical format, which would I presume would help the digital side as well.
I personally think we need to bring back the Wiz Comics label. We don't have enough comics in our lives.
Everyone needs a little bit of whiz in them. I'm gonna cut that.
Please don't.
No, that's staying in.
Coming at number 9, Detective Comics 38, first appearance of Robin. There are only 78 blue labels on the CGC census, and for everyone out there, blue label means a completed graded book. It means it's fully intact. The recent sale for the highest grade was one 9.4 grade. There's only one 9.4 grade, and it sold for $107,550 in 2009. Our estimated value for this comic today is easily over $1 million. It's really difficult to estimate these one-of-ones, especially considering the situation right now around the world with the economy. But these one-of-ones is where you get whales involved with deep pockets, and you just need two people that want it bad enough, and this thing can go crazy. So it can go cheap, it can go crazy. It's really hard to tell, but I would presume that it's easily $1 million book today. There are 4,500 digital NFTs, only 184 legendaries. The floor is currently $400, and of course, it's on DC NFT. What do you guys think of this book?
It's a good book. I like Robin.
Yeah, it's a very, very. This is like that period of Batman's like lore where he kind of got a little bit more lighthearted, where things got, you had a sidekick, and it starts kind of becoming that more 60s-ish or 50s and 60s-ish kind of, a little lighthearted tone to it. But the Robin character has really kind of proven the test of time, to be honest. Like what he's become now, especially in like recent media, becoming Nightwing and all of that. He's become a way more complex character.
Great points, Kev.
Yeah.
And especially when James Gunn confirming that Robin will appear in the Brave and the Bold film being released in, I think, 3 to 5 years.
Nice.
So we do know for sure that he's coming to the DC universe, which definitely helps this comic big time, especially in digital format. Kevin and I actually had a chance to hold this comic. We took some photos with it. It was really cool. Yeah, that was really rad. I think it was a blue label too, which is pretty crazy. So one of the 78 copies we were able to hold in our hands. Those guys were awesome. Remember that, Kev?
Oh yeah, that was awesome. That was a good day.
Yeah, that was really fun. But yeah, we're very high on this comic. Incredibly valuable. It's tied to pop culture history, historical value. It's one of the first significant DC comics. Great value, even at $400. I mean, for only 184 legendaries, that's crazy.
That's crazy scarce. Yeah, insanely.
So you're looking between the physicals and the legendaries, about 250.
I like Robin. I watched Teen Titans Go. I don't know if you ever watched that TV show when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That was on when I was a kid, and I loved all those characters. Yeah, Robin was a great character in that show.
Also, look at him jumping out of that little hoop.
Oh, look at the boy wonder go.
Look at the boy wonder.
He's ready to party. He's coming out. Life hasn't brought him down yet. He's just full of optimism.
Just wait, Robin. He
hasn't been tarnished by the pain of life.
With the Joker.
Batman will teach you.
Yeah. Coming at number 8. Journey to Mystery 83, the first appearance of Thor. There are currently 1,793 copies on the CGC Census Blue Labels. There's only one 9.6 grade on the CGC Census, but it has never been sold publicly. Wow. I don't know if it ever has been sold. I presume that if it has been sold within the past 10 years, it would have hit the news. Yeah, apparently it hasn't sold yet. Wow. We estimate this comic in its highest grade would easily sell for over $2 million. There's 10,000 total editions in digital format. The secret rare size is 250, and the current floor is around 1,000 gems or $1,000. And it is of course, on the VeVe Digital Collectibles platform. This is a banger comic. I mean, this is the first appearance of Thor. He's incredibly significant. He's an OG Avenger, at least in film. He's a significant character, and everyone loves Thor.
Also in the comics as well, he's an OG Avenger, literally from the beginning.
Good point. Yep, you're right. Yeah, he's an OG Avenger, period.
Yeah.
So regardless how many films Chris Hemsworth will be in the future, he has solidified himself, pop culture history and historical history. Yeah, great comic. Great comic.
I'm surprised it's only $1,000 floor right now.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these grails, they're only around $1,000 floor for the secret rares, which is pretty surprising. Hopefully we see him at a film, outside of Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
Yeah. He needs a better send-off, I think.
Yeah.
One more.
Yeah.
A good one.
Definitely needs a better
send-off. Make him
off.
look the best in that one. Definitely not.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that being a send-off film. I think Chris Hemsworth taking a break. I mean, the whole film industry right now is taking a break, unfortunately. So I anticipate he'll probably be back. I would be shocked if he's not back.
At least for one more. I would almost say guarantee he's back for at least one more.
I agree. Number 7, Tales of Suspense, number 39, the first appearance of Iron Man.
Yeah.
There are currently 2,038 copies on the CGC Census, and there is one 9.8 grade, which is never sold publicly. The estimated grade for this comic is probably around $2.5+ million today. There are 10,000 digital copies, and there's 250 secret rares. The current floor price is $1,000. And of course, it's on VeVe as well. And this is Iron Man, guys. I mean, this is the guy who started the MCU. Robert Downey Jr. just stamped himself as the true OG of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
And I know that the Incredible Hulk film was technically first, but Iron Man is what's paved the way to the MCU we know today.
Yeah. Yeah, when you ask like what the first like MCU film is, nobody will say the Incredible Hulk. Everyone will say Iron Man. Like
Yeah.
it's just Iron Man's one of those fantastic characters who's just like the person himself has no powers. He's not a
Yeah.
mutant. He's not some god. He's literally a dude who has to build the thing.
He just has the brain to be able to build all this stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
And the resources.
And the resources. He's a
And
rich man.
Yeah.
He's a very
He's
rich
a
man. He inherited a lot of money.
He's a flawed character with a tortured soul. Had a bad relationship with his dad. That he wanted a better relationship with his dad. Never had that, and you could just see that kind of carry on throughout the series. You definitely see a lot of flashbacks for him and the trauma that he went through growing up. He's able to overcome that, which is beautiful because Robert Downey Jr. kind of did the same thing.
Mhm.
I mean, his career, if you guys don't know about his career,
Yeah.
you should look it up. He was, I mean, I know you guys know, but everyone
Yeah.
out there watching, Robert Downey Jr. was a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember right out of high school, I took a producing class for film, and the producer talked about insurance, getting like insurance in case you can't finish a film and you run out of money. There is insurance for that for film production. And the joke about that is you only get that kind of insurance if you have Robert Downey Jr. in your production, because you'll likely find him like passed out with pills in one hand and a bottle in another. To hear that someone talk about him like that, to see where he's
come, from that, yeah. I mean, he was in prison for a little bit too.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
truly remarkable. And he actually dedicates his turnaround to his wife, who's a producer
Yeah.
in Hollywood, and they have a production company together. Very, very, very happy for him. So basically, we love this comic.
Yeah. And we
This
think
is a
we'll
great
do
one.
well for a very long time. Like this is
Absolutely. This is one of the best comics you can get for Marvel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's truly a top 10 for Marvel.
Mhm.
Always will be. Coming at number 6, The Incredible Hulk #1, the first appearance of Hulk. There are currently 1,444 copies on the CGC census. There is one 9.4 grade that's never sold publicly, and we estimate this copy would also sell for over $2.5 million. There's 10,000 total digital editions, 250 secret rares. The current floor price for those is around $1,000, and it's also on VeVe. Another banger. What's interesting about this comic, it's a lot scarcer than the other grails.
Mhm.
You know, you saw it's only 1,444 editions compared to over 2,000. And some of the other ones that are upcoming have even more editions. So this is a scarce comic. It's very hard to find. It's incredibly valuable. The floor is very high. This comic will do well for a long, long time. I would imagine that the Hulk will be a big part of the MCU. Whether it's him, another interpretation of him, you know, the Young Avengers, they have Hulkling that's probably going to come in, She-Hulk that's already been introduced. So that Hulk character is going to stay alive in the MCU, so one way or another, which bodes well for the pop culture value of this comic.
Yeah. Well, even on the pop culture side, like the first ever successful Marvel live action anything was the Hulk series from like the 60s and 70s. That literally what the most everyone thinks of when they think of like the Hulk. So, you know, with Lou Ferrigno. So it's definitely going to be cemented forever. Like it's not going to go anywhere.
So I'm curious why you put this ahead of Iron Man, because I feel like they're pretty similar in terms of a lot of their numbers and in terms of estimated value and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
I've had deep conversations about this with multiple people. I mean, you're splitting hairs at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, these 10 comics, like you can't go wrong. Like, honestly, when one takes off, they all take off. And it really comes down to witnessing highest sales in their highest grade. The sales in the highest grade will really lift the ceiling up. But I like this comic because of, I mean, the cover's beautiful. People just seem to catch on more to this one than Tales of Suspense. But that being said, Tales of Suspense is still a huge comic. But this one definitely has a lot of value. And I will say that what separates this and Tales of Suspense is that there is one 9.8 graded book.
Gotcha.
And I think that $2.5 million estimate I gave previously is insanely conservative, very conservative.
Gotcha.
One 9.8. Because typically, I mean, even any comic, so like you'll say there's only one 9.0 grade. Technically, that's like considered a 1 of 1, right? And in a lot of collectors' eyes, that's still like better than a 9.8 for other comics, of course, because of the scarcity, because it's the highest grade. But I mean, having actual 9.8 is insane. I mean, like Captain America Comics #1, when that inevitably drops on VeVe, that comic also has one 9.8. That's also from 1941. That's a golden age comic. And I think that thing could sell for over $20 million. Like in today's market. Absolutely. Because it's never seen a public sale either.
Yeah.
So something to keep in mind. Number 5, one of my favorites, if not my favorite. Fantastic Four #1, the first appearance of the Fantastic Four. This is technically the first comic under the Marvel Comics company.
Umbrella?
There are 1,000 umbrella. There you go. There are 1,969 copies on the CGC census. There are two 9.6 copies which have never sold publicly, and there's one 9.2 grade which sold for 1.5 million in 2022. So that shows the value of this comic. Incredibly valuable. I mean, I estimate those two 9.6 grades would sell for over $10 million today. They've never sold. There are 60,000 total digital editions, and there are 600 secret rares. The current floor is around $1,300, and it's also on VeVe. This is one of the first comics to drop in NFT format. It's a true grail. All of these comics are grails, but this one just really speaks to people's hearts. I mean, the story behind this one, especially when Stan Lee created it, his wife, he was about to give up on comics, and his wife told him, you need to create a comic that you love, that you really would enjoy reading as a fan. So he wrote this comic as a fan, and how special is that? That is so cool. And that's what kickstarted the Marvel Universe. Super special. This comic holds a special place in everyone's heart. It's not particularly scarce compared to especially the Golden Age comics, but the popularity. And we haven't even seen these characters come to the MCU.
Right.
We've seen these characters represented in mediocre films at best.
Yeah.
Some would argue terrible films.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to see them do the Fantastic Four justice, because I know that Kevin Feige, this is a very, very personal film for him. He knows they have to get this right. There's no room for failure here. They have to get it done right. Very excited for this comic's future. I know that the total edition size is pretty high compared to the other comics. I still anticipate they'll probably be burning in the future. I don't know at what capacity or how many would actually get burned. That being said, regardless, the popularity, the accessibility of this comic will definitely boost it up. Yeah. And especially when we see those high grades sell, if they ever do, it's going to turn a lot of heads. Like, imagine if one of these comics sold for $10 to $15 million. How would people react to that?
No, they would instantly buy it on VeVe. Instantly.
There we go nuts.
Yeah.
There we go nuts.
Yeah. And it's interesting with this one. It's the floor price is $1,300 with way more editions than some of these other ones that we've seen that have also been sitting around $1,000.
Coming at number 4, Marvel Comics number 1. This is the first ever Marvel comic. It's also the first NFT comic released on VeVe. So it's the first ever NFT comic released by Marvel. There's only 36 blue labels on the CGC census, and there's only one 9.4 grade, which is its highest grade, and it sold back in 2019 for $1.26 million. This is easily over $3 million today, in our opinion. Yeah. There's 60,000 total editions. There's 600 secret rares, and the current floor is $5,300, and it's also on VeVe.
I remember when this was selling for $30,000 consistently, $35,000, $40,000 consistently.
Insane.
Come down quite a bit.
And that's the thing you got to think about too, right? And something that we've been preaching for the past 2 years. Which comics are going to stand the test of time? Which ones are most importantly now going to have the best opportunity to rebound? And there's no question that I believe that it's possible that comic could reach those numbers again.
Totally. I agree.
It's very possible. If any comic could do it, it's this one. Mm-hmm. I know it's very discouraging in the market right now, but I have tremendous faith, even with the total editions. With only 600 total editions as secret rares, I mean, this is a very scarce comic, and I just only see this comic doing well over time, especially as the space grows. These are the comics that are going to grow and help the entire market. So I'm very much a believer in this comic. It's one of the most valuable. It's crazy because originally when it was produced, there was about, I think, 800,000+ copies produced, and there's less than 100 probably around today, which is just bananas to think about. Coming at number 3. Amazing Fantasy number 15, the first appearance of Spider-Man.
Whatever a spider can?
Yeah, that's right. There are 2,465 copies on the CGC census. There are 4 9.6 grades, and the most recent sale was for $3.6 million in 2021, which seems pretty reasonable considering that was during the boom. And that comic, I doubt will dip. I mean, there's only 4 copies of one of the most significant comics in history in its highest grade, and there's no 9.8s. But also what's interesting too is that there's probably a lot of raws out there as well. That's something else to keep in mind, guys. Like, a lot of comics, especially for like the Golden Age comics, when there's only like less than 100 copies on the census, it's probably pretty accurate because people want to grade those. You don't want to keep those ungraded. You want to preserve them. But this copy, a lot of people have raw. I've seen a lot of raw copies. Yeah. A lot of people do have raw copies. So there's a lot more probably out there. But again, it comes down to popularity. Yeah, popularity. And even in digital format, 10,000 total editions, 250 secret rares. The floor is still $9,000 even in this down market. you know, and of course on the VeVe platform. I mean, this comic is unbelievably popular. It's only going to be grow in popularity over time because of its historical and pop culture value. I'm a huge believer in this comic. Everyone is, and it's only going to do better over time.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite comics, man. Not only just for the cover and the art, the fact that this was like the last Hail Mary for them at this point, for Marvel especially. They weren't doing so well financially. They didn't know where they were going to go. And they were like, well, we're going to make the last of this comic line, Amazing Fantasy, although it was never called Amazing Fantasy till this edition. And then they were like, let's just throw this character out there. And then everything from there exploded.
They're like, no, but nobody's gonna like this character. Nobody likes spiders. Nobody hates spiders. What?
Especially with the growth and popularity of Miles Morales, also Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man. This is the OG.
Yeah.
This is the OG Spider-Man, and he'll always be the OG.
No.
You know, as the popularity of Miles Morales grows, so will the popularity of this comic. 100%. The floors for the physical is like a 0.5 grade, around $15,000. Like people will pay $15,000 with like half the cover missing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That's how popular this comic is, and especially in this economy right now. People are still paying those kind of prices for this comic. And it's only going to grow over time. Number 2, Batman number 1. The first appearance of Joker, first appearance of Catwoman, the first solo issue of Batman. There are only 145 blue labels on the CGC census. There's only one 9.4 grade, and the most recent sale for this one-of-one comic was for $2.2 million in 2021, which in my opinion was an insane opportunity. Like whoever bought that, good for you. Yeah. Unbelievable. Today, we estimate this comic would easily sell for over $3 million today. 3.5. I mean, that's still very conservative in my opinion. There's 5,000 total editions. There's 214 legendaries. And the current floor price is $2,000, and it's on DC NFT. Now, why is this comic only a $2,000 floor?
Hey, how's his arm looking over there?
Something looks a little off.
There it is.
Looking a little yellow there.
There's a ton of FUD going around with this comic, because unfortunately DC NFT used the facsimile cover, and people are very discouraged by that. Also, considering that with the state of the economy, I think people are just kind of scared to dive in. But long term, do you think that's going to matter? What are your guys' thoughts? Do you think that's going to matter to collectors long term?
I don't think so. Because I think like really only the collectors that are here right now are really paying attention to that or know the fact that it's a facsimile. I'm sure people in the future will know too, but like there's going to be a lot of people who are just going to like, you know, once this catches on more, are just going to ape into this comic in the digital form because it's Batman number 1. And I don't know if they'll ever do something like this, but I think it's possible they could try to make things right and probably, you know, try to reissue a comic, you know, or that is the correct version. Who knows? I don't know if it'll ever happen, but it would be cool for them to try to correct the mistake that they made.
I'll admit I'm very disappointed. More so because like the whole thing that we keep talking about with these digital comics versus like the physical ones, as we saying though, they're the same. They're part of that same branding. They're part of that same world. They're at that same tier. And to say that it's at that same tier, but then to have this issue, which is clearly not at that same level, to me, that's a huge problem. And I think that will actually hurt this a little bit going forward.
Yeah, DC, you know, it's interesting because, you know, at the end of the day, DC NFT controls the narrative for these comics. Mm-hmm. You know, they're saying this is Batman 1. In the metadata, it represents Batman 1. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, it's going to come down to collectors and their decision on this, whether they view this as a valuable Batman 1 representation. Again, we don't look at these as facsimiles. We don't look at these as reprints. We look at these as these digital comics as an opportunity to invest in the original IP. So as these physicals grow in value over time, we anticipate so will the digitals. That being said, it is a bit unfortunate that the cover was used from a later facsimile, but I have a feeling that it's not going to matter. And a lot of it's because of the scarcity of this comic. It's still incredibly scarce. You had only 214 legendaries. It's a $2,000 floor. I mean, compared to some of these other comics right now, like AF-15 and others, it's still very cheap and affordable.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna take a lot for it to fly. Again, it really comes down to the collectors though and how they feel about it. I would say, in my opinion, and not financial advice, it is a low risk getting involved in this comic, in my humble opinion. Long term, what do you guys think?
I think it's still a risk. Yeah, and I don't think it's technically impossible for them to do that. Like the actual art isn't stored on chain; it's most likely stored on IPFS, or they're pointing to a different place where the actual art is stored. So there's no reason they couldn't update the art. So hopefully they end up doing that.
Yeah, but I also can see that potentially being opening up a can of worms for them which, you know, it's like with VeVe too. And would they update their comics? There's been some things that I've seen on Secret Rares that, you know, could be better. But it's like when you start making changes, then you guys start making changes to other things and it opens up a can of worms. And I'm worried that that's going to happen with a lot of these comics. So I personally don't think they're going to make the change. But either way, I think people are still going to put tremendous value on this comic long term, regardless of using the facsimile cover. So, and I know a lot of people out there are probably like, what? Well, how was AF-15 number 3 and how's Batman number 1 number 2? Well, guys, Batman number 1 is an insanely scarce grail. It's from 1941. It's the first appearance of Joker, first appearance of Catwoman. It's the first solo issue of Batman. It is unbelievably significant and insanely scarce. 145 physical blue labels. That's it. And it's very possible that they could disappear over time. And all that's left is in digital format, which is crazy to think about, but it's possible. And in terms of value, you know, it's definitely probably equal in its highest grade to AF-15, even though AF-15 has a lot more editions because it's a more popular book. I still think Batman 1 deserves to be number 2. But again, guys, I'm not saying that this comic is better than AF-15. You can't go wrong. All the comics on this list are grails. They're all significant. They're all going to do well. I personally would give the slight edge to Batman number 1. And especially when you look at the total editions in digital format too. It's got the half as many total editions as AF-15, which means the market cap can go a lot higher. It's got a lot more room to run. That's my thought process behind that. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts in the comments down below. Coming at number 1, Superman number 1 is the first self-titled series for a superhero ever. There's only 74 copies, 74 blue labels on the CGC census. There's one 8.5 grade, and the most recent sale was, in its highest grade, was for one 8.0 comic, which sold for $5.3 million in 2022, which is absolutely bananas. At the time, though, I will say that I do believe that that was the highest grade. I think there were 2 8.0s, and someone cracked it, and it got regraded, and it got bumped up to an 8.5.
Yep.
So I'm curious if that 8.5 would ever sell, and if it does, what it would sell for. But this is an insanely scarce comic. There's only 3,000 total editions. There's only 214 legendaries. The floor is around $9,000 right now, and of course, it's on DC NFT. I mean, this is one of the most significant comics in history with one of the most popular characters. I mean, it's been rumored that people recognize the Superman symbol just as much as the Holy Cross, which is crazy. And especially with James Gunn reintroducing Superman in the DC universe, I think there's a lot of upside for Superman. And I personally have a lot of faith in James Gunn. So that's a bit of a spec play on my end, but I really believe in James Gunn and what he's going to do. He's personally directing and writing this script. He's talked about how this film's coming out on July 11th, which is his dad's birthday. His dad unfortunately passed away, and it's a very sentimental movie for him. It's very sentimental. Also, July 11th is my birthday too, so I'm really excited about it personally. I love this comic. I love this comic.
I mean, like, everything you said, Sean, was amazing, but even if James Gunn wasn't making a Superman movie, this is literally pop culture 101.
Yeah.
No matter what. From this time on to the end of human civilization at this point, in my opinion, everyone's going to know who Superman is. They're going to grow up with Superman. Like, this is a no-brainer for sure. Yeah. This is amazing.
Absolutely. There's so much room for growth for these comics. I mean, all the ones we mentioned. And again, we're not trying to say like one comic's better than the other. We're just trying to say in terms of total editions, we're comparing physical value, all these different characteristics that come into play. Yeah. But this is our list, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. Yeah. That's all I got.
Yeah. Not financial advice.
That was awesome. Yeah, not financial advice. Never financial advice. Thanks so much for joining, everybody. That was awesome. That was awesome.
We did it.
We hope you enjoyed this list. Definitely let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And of course, make sure to follow us if you aren't already at Comics and Crypto. And we'll see you on the next one.